Hello and welcome. You can start off seated with a cross-legged shape. I have my right shin in front of the left to start. And just give your neck a little bit of movement. Can ease through any tension in the back of the neck, the jaw. Start to take a few deep breaths. You just want to arrive in your practice today. And we're going to set up this first stretch. So slide your shins further forward, just so they're parallel to the side of your mat. And then close your knees a little closer together. You want to line up knees just about as wide as your shoulders. So you've got this little box shape. And then any amount, let your fingers crawl forward. Your low back start to open, and maybe drop your head off the end of your spine here. This is all going to be calm and slow and fairly simple, but we're holding shapes longer. So if you have a block handy, it can help you get into a nicer shape for you. On any layer, maybe your forearms rest on it. Maybe your head comes down onto the block on any setting. The higher the block is, the less intense the stretch will be. But you do want to feel like you could be here for a few deep breaths without having to force or without having to tense. And then as you're breathing into these shapes, I'm going to add on some options for you. Just take what feels good though. I'm going to crawl my hands over towards the left and really root down through the right sit bone. And just send the breath into that right side waist. You can switch by sliding the fingers over to the right. This is just an option. Yeah, I want you to be able to settle into these hips as it feels good for you. It's really nice to add on after a workout or after a longer flow, just so you have a little more time to decompress, to breathe, to be calm. And come back through center. You can stay right here longer if you found a comfy spot, or one more layer. Take your right shin and ankle and cross it on top of the left. This is going to get quite a bit more intense. If you feel like you have a lot of space between your knee and your bottom foot, you can slide the block underneath it, and that just gives you a little more support to be able to stay. If you prefer to not use the block, you can take it out. But just try and get into that space where you can still breathe smooth and slow, and you can still soften. Because if we push ourselves too far in these stretches, then we're going to get into resistance. It's kind of counterproductive if we're tensing and squeezing and working. So try and move in towards that layer where you can just be. Maybe it feels a little tight, a little intense. That's where you send your breath. Start to roll yourself back up. Take your right ankle and stretch your leg out to the right side. This left knee will stay bent, but slide the left foot to the inside of your right leg. Flex into right toes and reach your left arm up and overhead towards that right foot. So a little side body opening. I love an arm circle here, kind of rolling through the shoulder. If it feels good, take a few rounds. Trying to stay in that side body stretch while your left hip is heavy. We're here just a brief moment. Slowly rise your way back up. Keep the legs. Pivot your chest to face your extended leg. You might need to adjust that left knee. And then fold your chest forward. Drop the forehead. Your hands can either hold onto your front foot, or they can just relax by the side of your thigh. But again, a little more ease here. That left hip bone is heavy. Your spine is long. And your forehead is resting. Take a couple more deep breaths here. And then peel your way up to a C. Take this left knee, turn it to face the ceiling, And then cross your left foot on the outside of your right thigh. Sit up really tall as you inhale. Wrap your right arm around your left thigh and twist towards your left shoulder. You might feel a little sensation in that left hip, but you're trying to rinse out your spine a bit. So sit up tall, root down through sit bones, and use every exhale to wring out slightly more. And as you come out of this twist, go really slow. Start with your head and then shoulders and then chest. You're kind of on a diagonal here, but shake out the legs a little bit as you extend them. We'll turn back to the side of the mat and we'll switch our shins. So now my left shin will come in front. Set this up by sliding the feet a little further to the sides, shins a bit forward, knees in line with shoulders, and then gently easing into your layer from here. You can walk the fingers forward, melt the chest. Don't be alarmed if this side feels different than the other. Your hips are naturally going to feel a little different from how we move throughout our days. We don't really move in a way that is even on both sides. I always think of getting in and out of the car, it's always the same side. Little things, little habits throughout our day. It does build up some tension, so here we're trying to let that go. So just use that block how it feels good. Try to breathe into wherever you feel the sensation. And if you did on the first side, you can add a little more length, crawling the fingers over towards the right, pressing through your left hip bone. Always, always breathing slow and smooth, especially through this calm motion. Curl it over the other side, and a couple of breaths into the right side waist. Notice how it feels. Little different spots, little things that come up. It's your chance to really get in tune with your body, to really be present. And if you took this deeper layer on the first side, you can add it here, taking the left shin, still parallel to the edge of your mat, but crossing left ankle on top of right thigh. I like wedging that block in just for a little more support. Or if you want to leave it out, you can just melt your chest forward. This is pretty intense for me. I feel a lot in that left outer hip. You might not feel as much. That's okay as well. Just be with your body, whatever's going on in it. If it is pretty gnarly, make sure you're breathing extra deep and slow. Not trying to force deeper than you can hold. Try to release the jaw. Sometimes I just open and close the mouth a few times. Then we'll come up and slowly, you can use your hands for this, it helps. Take your left shin, slide it out to the side, adjust so sit bones are grounded and right foot is on the inside of your left thigh. Side bend up and over towards the left toes. Really opening that chest towards the ceiling. And then if you did, take a nice easy circle of this top arm. It's nothing that uses too much effort, just kind of massaging around that waist and chest, rolling through the shoulder socket. All while your legs are doing very little work, just softly melting into the ground. Rise up through center. Let's adjust slightly so that you're facing your extended leg. You might need to move your right knee a little more forward. And then melt your chest. And then don't worry if your forehead doesn't come all the way to your shin. It's where the block could come in handy. Or it can just be hanging as long as you're releasing the back of the neck. Lengthening through the low spine. And spending your attention getting a little more calm. Roll up as you crawl your hands in. Face your right knee to the ceiling. Step it on the outside of your left leg. Sit up really tall on an inhale. Twist towards your bent knee. And keep angling your gaze towards your back shoulder. This is more about the spine, but these hips and spine, they affect each other a lot. So when we get deep into the hips, it does cause a little more space for your low back, a little less tension there. Take one more round, the inhale to lengthen, the exhale to twist. Then untangle, peel back towards the front. You can shake out the legs a little bit. And we're gonna stay facing the front side of your mat. Legs are long. One last little fold here. Sit up really tall, reach hands to the sky. And then hinge forward into Paschimottanasana. I like to roll the tailbone a little bit more behind me here, so you're lengthening your low back. Knees can be soft if you'd like, or if you want to go a little deeper for the hamstrings, that block can come in front of your feet, reaching around to grab it. I tend to have more open hamstrings, so this feels right for me. But wherever your hands are is perfect. A little bit of dynamic movement here can be nice as well. Taking an inhale to lengthen your spine, maybe peel your gaze forward. And then an exhale to gently release and soften in. Just here, another breath. We're spending just a little bit of time in these shapes because we tend to focus a lot on the strength and the quicker movement in these videos. So I'm gonna make sure you have this to access if you want to add it on to some of the other workouts. If you're just feeling like you need some calm in your life. Let's roll it down onto your back. Plant your feet to the floor. Now this is my favorite shape, so it's where we're going to be for the next few moments. Lift your hips up into a bridge and slide the block on its lowest setting underneath your sacrum. So you're in a supported bridge. You really don't have to do a lot of anything. You can just heavy your hips onto that block. Release your shoulders and your head. I've lifted my feet up off the ground. If you want to take this next layer, squeeze your right shin into your chest, grabbing around for the front of it, and then maybe you circle your ankle around. You can stretch your left leg out long to the front if that feels good. If you're here, push down into your left heel. Really squeeze right knee in towards your belly. And peel it towards your shoulder a little bit. You're still heavying into that left hip. It's really nice for the front of the hips, for even the quads, hip flexors. Those hip flexors in the lower part of your belly, they wrap around to your low back. And they are the culprit for a lot of back tightness that comes up. So this is a nice release for that. You can switch legs as you're ready. Squeeze left shin in. Stretch right leg long. I like to circle the ankle just so we're not forgetting about those joints. And while you're breathing into your left hip crease, you can take your knee a little bit to the side, squeeze it in towards your armpit. Just subtle changes that might change the way this feels for you. And try to extend both legs out long. Be really mindful here because it might feel super nice. I love this shape for the low belly, the hip flexors, the quads. If it doesn't feel good for you, you can absolutely keep your feet planted to the floor. And if this does feel good, stay in it for a little bit longer. If you want to play with one more layer of this shape, I'll get you into it now, really softly, gently, letting your knees bend back into your chest, and then stretching them straight up to the sky for a supported shoulder stand. Your hips are still heavy to the block, but your legs long. It's a little bit of an inversion. Those feet relax, knees are soft, the blood flow gets to reverse. This is a nice spot to stay for a few more breaths. If you want to soften into the other layer, you can go back into it when you're ready. But I'll leave you here for now. Thank you for being sweet with your body, and I will see you next time. Namaste.